A strange reptile that lives on a strange type of island will surely deliver in the weird department. Islanders are known for showing interesting adaptations that mainlanders may find funny. But when you're surrounded by the ocean, it pays to be unique and self-sufficient. The Aldabra giant tortoise is a sizable shelled super reptile, large enough for a child to keep as a steed. But being large and in charge of your domain is one way to make a path through life, death, and taxonomy. Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And yo soy Carlos. Since you went Spanish on me, I had to give it right back.
Gracias to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify.
Even though nobody says yo soy and then their name when they're talking about their name. And thank you to Brian for the creation of this week's artwork. Lost my train of thought. Oh, to check out his check out this week's artwork. You can follow us on Facebook or Twitter at LD Taxonomy, or visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com.
And today we're talking about the largest shelled reptile that lives on land, maybe. But more on that later.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm very
pretty sure it is.
I'm interested to hear what. I mean, I know what its competitor is, but I thought this was definitely bigger. But enough with the suspense. You know what you clicked on. We're talking about the... Alright, I don't know how to pronounce this actually.
Aldabra.
Aldabra?
Yeah.
Giant tortoise. Aldabra giant tortoise.
Yeah, so their biggest competitor is... the
Galapagos tortoise.
The Galapagos tortoise, and they're close enough that there might be a Galapagos out there that's bigger, but I think Aldabra is considered the biggest.
Yeah, it seems that way in terms of averages. But we're going to call it here Rip Van Winkle, Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda, College Algebra, that's stupid, and Aldabra Cadabra, also stupid. I could think of clever ones, and I had a tortoise to work with. I'm sure there's something out there that was good, but oh, it just auto-corrected to Master Uruguay. Uruguay. But enough with the silliness. It's time for science time. You ready for science?
Sure.
Taxonomy, the T in LDT. Can't skip it. So it's time for the kingdom you know, love, and are in. The kingdom is, of course, Animalia. It could also be the United Kingdom if you happen to live there. The phylum is Chordata. The class is Reptilia, by the strokes. The order is Testudines. It's been a while since we've done a turtle or tortoise. I think the last one was the Mary's River turtle.
Oh, yeah.
So we're back to the order of Testudines. The suborder is Cryptodira. The superfamily is... All right, let's do this. Testudinoideae. The family is Testudinidae. There's a joke there. There's always a joke in these Inidaes things. And
how many students should I really be testing in my tutoring practice each day?
You should probably test Testudinidae, yeah. I would say. The genus is Aldabracales, and the species is Gigantea. Aldabracales gigantea. All the giant broccolis. Or
trees.
But yeah, so since we're in the business of naming things, and business is good, it's time for my favorite part of the show. Critter groups. The part of the show where I ask you, Joe, a question. The question is the same every time. What is the name of a group of this animal, or what is the term of entry, or what is the collective noun? It's all the same. If you saw a group of tortoises, what would you call them? Would you call them A, a plod of tortoises, B, a march of tortoises, C, a shuffle of tortoises, or D, a creep of tortoises?
A plod?
Plod, march. Yeah, P-L-O-D.
Plod. Plodding along?
Plod, march, shuffle, creep. I don't think we've done a tortoise before, so this is brand spanking new.
I guess I'm going to do a march. March of Tortoise.
That's
March of Tortoise.
It's the sequel to March of Penguins, and it takes a lot longer. Is that your final answer?
Mm-hmm.
Incorrect. The answer was creep.
No.
Well, because you can't sing.
Seems not fair.
This is what they named the song. This is the basis for that Radiohead song.
Oh, really? He's talking about I'm a group of turtles. I'm a weirdo.
That sounds like an indie band for sure. I am a group of turtles. Yep, it's a creep of tortoises. Because they move so slow. You get it?
Yeah, creep along.
Yeah.
But I would think more like creep as in like something that creeps along like a spider or a rat or something little and conniving.
Yeah, but you can also think of creep as like you're trying to move stealthily, so you're moving very slowly.
I suppose.
But I get what you're saying. Creepy crawlies. So you want to hear what this thing looks like? You want to hear what the
sure.
Aldabra giant tortoise looks like? Well, if you're picturing in your mind a giant tortoise, then you're done. You did it. Congratulations.
But what even is a tortoise? What does it look like?
It's big. I guess not. Tortoises aren't big by definition unless you're an ant. So the Aldabra giant Aldabra, is that what you said it was? Oh goodness, I really should have I need to highlight the middle A there so that I know what to emphasize. Okay, the Aldabra giant tortoise has a massive, thick brown shell made up of hexagonal plates that protect his squishy innards. They're actually not that squishy. While the outside is made of the shell is made of a hard keratin, the inside of the shell actually isn't a solid block. It's actually a honeycomb structure on the inside, and it's filled with air pockets. So this makes it so that while this is a heavy boy, it's not as heavy as it could be if it was just solid. Hang on, let me double check that this keratin. Okay, yes, it is keratin, not bone. I thought it was oh no, is it bone? Yes, so it, rather than being one solid chunk of keratin, it is the honeycomb structure makes it light, and the air pockets also make it light. The tortoise has short, scaly legs with stubby claws for digging and gaining traction when moving, and its neck is super long and can stretch pretty tall, about a meter up, which is 3.3 feet, and can stretch so that it can reach taller plants and things like that, like a giraffe. I could not find any info on whether they can retreat fully inside their shells. But most other tortoises can't fully retreat, and it doesn't look like they can just by looking at them, and there's no real reason for them to need to do that since they don't have any natural predators in their adult form. So safe to assume that they probably cannot retreat fully inside like a turtle, like an aquatic turtle can. And also has a tiny little tail. And all of its parts that are not covered by the shell are covered in these tough brown scales. So it's a pretty well armored animal, and it's got beady little black eyes and kind of like a beak. A beak is the best way I would describe a turtle's mouth, with the keratin lips. There's another band name for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it uses that to munch on its favorite food, which is leaves and grass and like stems and things like that. So, like I said, and like we mentioned earlier, this is a big boy. This is a big animal.
How big is it?
A big terrestrial animal, just from that point of view alone, and it's definitely big for a member of the order Testudines.
But how bigger than the average animal, for sure.
Since the average animal is an insect.
Yeah. Okay, so welcome to the Beloved Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show, or the listener's official favorite part of the show. The part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send an audio of yourself saying, singing, or tittering. The words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new measure up intro.
It's been a while.
Which means we get to hear from an animal and Carlos has to guess what it is.
Yes, I do. I have to. Please release my family.
Yeah. Let's see if you can figure out what this animal is. Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show.
Human. Homo sapien.
Yeah. Is it A, sulcata tortoise, B, a sloth bear, C, a Barbados raccoon, or D, a crested porcupine?
Wow, it could be any of those. I'm going to rule out the raccoon because I don't even know if it's a real thing. Tortoises definitely make some weird grunting sounds, especially when they're mating. So it could be that. Could be sloth bear. Sloth bears are, I don't know. Yeah, it could totally be them. I'm between those two. You know, I'm going to go with the tortoise.
Tortoise?
Yeah.
Final answer?
I'm going to go with that one. I think you switched it up and actually picked like a similar animal to what we're doing.
That is correct.
Yeah.
That's tortoise.
I think
and he was mating, just not with another tortoise, with a small tree stump.
Hey, he's trying to perpetuate the species. They're vulnerable.
He's just a little confused. Yeah.
He's throwing what he can at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Let's talk about carapace length. I think that's a spaghetti reference.
Carapace length?
No, the sticks to the wall thing.
Yeah.
I wonder if it is. The carapace is 122 centimeters or 48 inches.
4 feet exactly.
How many Aldabra tortoises go into the length of the Aldabra atoll?
Is it atoll or atoll?
I don't know.
The length of the whole atoll? Yep, you're right. Atoll.
I'm seeing atoll, but I'm sure it's pronounced differently in different countries. Atoll.
Interesting. I've always just seen it as atoll, but I don't think I've ever really heard it said. Anyway, the length of the entire group of islands.
So here's a hint. An atoll is an interesting island that is formed by a coral reef that rises above the water. It's a ring-shaped piece of land that partially or completely encloses a lagoon. Aldabra specifically is long and oval-shaped. So we're talking about the length of the oval.
All right, I'm going to say these are really small islands. going to say it's 20 miles. So my answer is 26,400. Aldabra giant tortoises go into the length of this island.
Final answer.
Mm-hmm.
The correct answer is 27,852.
Oh, that's a win for me. I'll count it. I'm crushing
the atoll is 34 kilometers or 21.1 miles.
I cannot believe I was 1.5 miles off. I can't believe that. That is nuts. People are going to think I looked it up.
Yeah, when you said I'm going to say 20 miles, I'm like,
I know that Puerto Rico is like 50 miles, I think.
It's like the size of a key. Maybe
yeah, so I was
bigger than a key.
I was just using like Puerto Rico, and I did look at this place on a map to see where it was. So I did know that they were small islands. But
you had a frame of reference, just not a number.
Nice.
So let's talk weight. Let's see if you can keep the streak alive. They can be up to 250 kilograms or 550 pounds. How many of the world's shortest cow, named Ronnie, go into an Aldabra tortoise?
Shortest cow.
Here's a hint of the 2-year-old Bhutanese cow made records after going viral in July of this year. The tiny short rib was small due to genetic problems caused by inbreeding. Not as funny as the pun I said. She unfortunately passed away a few months later.
She's a teacup cow. You just put her in your pocket.
Yeah.
All right. 2 years old. I don't know how long it takes for cows to reach their regular size. I imagine that's kind of young, maybe. So I'm going to say this cow was 250 pounds. So then the answer is like 2.1 or something like that. 2.1 of these cows go into the weight of the average Aldabra giant tortoise. That's my answer. 2.1.
Final answer.
Mm-hmm.
The correct answer is 9.6.
What a small cow.
She was 26 kilograms or 57 pounds.
I was going to go with like a large dog, but then I was like, it's a cow. Like, even a short cow would be really heavy. But
she was
I
20
wrong.
inches tall or 50 centimeters.
I got to look this up.
Look up a picture. It's adorable.
I am. Oh my goodness. That is a short cow.
There will be a link to the Guinness Records page on ldtaxonomy.com. I think /podcast/ I don't know, Aldabra giant tortoise. With dashes in between.
I was not anticipating it being so little. Looks like a pit bull.
So little it needs its sleep.
It's a Louise reference.
Yeah.
That's about as deep of a cut as you can get. One line from a character from a show one time. That
from Bob's.
Yeah, goodness. Wow, that is this.
Robert's Patties.
That's a short. That's even a short pit bull. It's like a little pig.
Yeah.
Wow, I was just anticipating like a Shetland pony sized. All right, let's do some fast facts. All right, so as you mentioned, I think you mentioned this. Yeah, you mentioned it. It lives in the Aldabra Atoll. Oh, this is weird. It's weird saying it that way. Which is an island in the Seychelles. Oh, that can't be right. Is that right?
That is right.
Okay,
yeah.
Good. In the Seychelles, which is a group of islands, a sovereign group of islands in the Indian Ocean, just northeast of Madagascar. When I say just northeast, I mean hundreds of miles off the coast of Madagascar. But that's kind of the general location. and in the middle of the ocean. So it's very unique ecosystems happen on islands in the middle of the ocean, which is why the Galapagos are so famous. But the Galapagos are completely on the other side of the world, almost exactly. The Aldabra giant tortoise, like I said earlier, eats leaves, grasses, and plant stems. They'll also eat fruit when they're in captivity, but they are herbivorous for sure. And despite not getting their much-needed proteins, they have arguably the longest lifespan of any vertebrate, which is what several sources said. But we also covered the Greenland shark, which is apparently the oldest one, is like 500 years old. So, and it doesn't reach that height, but it's still contested. Greenland shark's a vertebrate, but it's definitely the oldest land vertebrate, I would say. The average lifespan of an Aldabra giant tortoise is up to 200 years, with the longest recorded lifespan being held by Adwaita, which is at 255 years. Born in 1750 and died in 2006. Older than America herself. Goodness gracious. Can you imagine, like, you're just a tiny little tortoise before the Industrial Revolution, and then you die when smartphones rule the earth? That is nuts. Not that you care. You are a tortoise.
Tortoise has seen. Yeah. Tortoise technology has remained steadfast.
Yeah, they've really fallen behind the curve. They actually missed the Industrial Revolution.
They missed the Stone Age, actually.
Yeah, they haven't even gotten to tool use. So,
except for that stump.
That's several points for humans. Except for that stump. Oh, it's good. Currently the oldest living tortoise is named Jonathan, and he's 189 years old. He was born in 1832. This antebellum tortoise. Goodness. But yeah, these guys live for a long time. So they're not very fast, which is probably apparent by them being a tortoise. And their whole shtick being slow and steady, thanks to our good friend Aesop. They can top off at a blistering 0.3 miles per hour. But fortunately, they don't really have to move very fast, because, like I said earlier, they don't have any natural predators as adults. As little hatchlings, they can be eaten by all sorts of things, birds and snakes and whatnot. But once they get to a certain size, there's just nothing nothing in their habitat that can really harm them. So that's why they can live so long, and that's also why they don't need to move very fast. And also why they don't need to retreat inside their protective shells. I also didn't know this. They can swim. Did you know this? I didn't know tortoises could swim at all.
But only this week I knew that.
Yeah, so those air pockets I mentioned that are inside the honeycomb structures in their shells, they actually allow them to float. They make them buoyant. So this 550-pound boulder of a creature, and it just floats, especially on seawater, because the salinity of seawater changes the buoyancy of objects. And it is thought that the Aldabra giant tortoise can survive for up to a month just floating on the water, and that's how they assume that they got to the Seychelles in the first place. It's just floating from somewhere else, and all it would take is a mating pair or a pregnant mother to make it to the shore and populate the islands. And the last thing I have is that you can buy an Aldabra giant tortoise for $1,900 if you're prepared to keep something the size of a Prius in your bedroom for 6 or 7 generations.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it. It's a lot of money.
Neither. It's not as much money as I would have thought. This is a vulnerable animal. There aren't that many of them. And so I would have thought
Although it's a good investment. It's like the best kind of investment, like the ones that you inherit from your, that you paid zero money for and you only get dividends every year.
Yeah.
That's what it's like to pass on a tortoise.
To inherit a tortoise. I don't understand what financial
You don't get any dividends
benefit
but at least
you're getting.
It's like the sunk cost is gone. You don't have to worry about that.
You just have to pay for plants to feed to it. And it's
Yeah, it's more like inheriting a car.
That you can't drive anywhere. It's probably not all that stimulating of a pet. And it can be destructive if given the opportunity. But I'm sure you'll talk about that. That's all I got.
Yeah. So, the Aldabra tortoise heard, "Be the change you want to see in the world." And they said, "I can do better than that."
They said put that on a t-shirt.
Aldabra tortoises shape their environments in more ways than one. Despite the fact that they've been seen eating birds. Did you know that?
No.
Recently, one has been observed hunting and chasing a hatchling that fell from a nest.
I feel like
chasing meaning stumbling over a log to get this bird that's not running away fast enough. And then it just chomps on it, and that bird was a snack.
Goodness. 0.3 miles per hour. It's not a high bar to clear.
Despite that, the tortoises I guess it's because the bird was like, "No way, this tortoise is going to eat me." That's not what they do.
It was incredulous to the end.
So, tortoises are primarily vegetarians. In fact, almost completely. In fact, up until recently, we thought 100%. But they enjoy grazing on fresh grasses and other plants that blanket their home islands. On the island of Aldabra, you may see a unique grass that grows really short and close to the ground. What makes this grass unique is that it's not just one grass species, but several different species of plants all bunched together. These plants are called tortoise turf, and it's made up of more than 20 different grasses, weeds, and flowering plants.
That sounds like a dish. Like something you...
Tortoise turf?
Yeah.
Or salad?
No, tortoise turf. Like turf and surf. Sounds like you'd order tortoise turf from a... And
then it comes and it's just a variety of greens in a salad.
Or just it's just like a square of sod. Tortoise turf.
Yeah. So these grasses aren't just naturally short and commingling plants. They're adapted to live life under the tyrannical rule of their reptilian overlords. A lot like us in the Illuminati.
True. And like Loki.
Yeah. So tortoise turf is adapted to be short. Their dwarfed size helps them to optimize for the tortoise's close cropping grazing style. So these plants also adapted to grow seeds closer to the ground rather than high up to avoid tortoise seed chomping. I guess maybe tortoise digestion is a little harder on seeds than bird digestion, because I know that's some plants, that's their strategy, to get eaten by birds and dispersed.
Mm-hmm.
But these plants said no. I guess grass kind of just grows outward. It doesn't need dispersal as much.
Yeah, I think most fruiting plants, that's their strategy. That's why they have fruit in the first place.
Yeah. So the tortoises also eat other plants, but tortoise grass or tortoise turf makes up 61% of their diet. So more than half. But you knew what 61% was.
I did
But
know.
Co-evolving isn't the only way tortoises shape their environment. They also vote in their local elections and volunteer to pick up trash on the highway. And by that I mean Aldabra tortoises and elephants have something in common. They both work to create pathways through their environment. So tortoises, as they're grazing, these reptilian tanks travel all over the island, stomping down plants and shrubs in their path. Like elephants, they're also even able to knock down trees. I'm assuming smaller trees than an elephant can handle, but still small trees.
550 pounds. Yeah. That can do some work on a sapling for sure.
So this is a simple but important role in environments with densely grown vegetation. Smaller animals are able to use these pathways to move around the island to access resources. And I was looking up what's on Aldabra in terms of small animals. And it's mostly birds, which don't need this, but there are crabs. And guess what else? An alumnus. The coconut crab lives here.
Oh, really? Huh.
These poor birds.
Yeah.
Getting eaten by things that aren't supposed to be eating birds.
Tortoises and crabs, you would not think that would eat birds, but
they heard that there were no cats in Aldabra, and then they were like, "Listen, the only thing that's here is turtles, crabs.
The only thing that's here is freakishly large turtles and crabs."
Yeah.
And the bird eater tarantula or something like that. That's not there, but that's all they would need, really. Another animal that shouldn't be able to eat birds.
Yeah, but you wouldn't think a tortoise would be very good at plant pulverizing, considering the way they move and stuff like that. But there's a video of a tortoise keeper complaining about a tortoise that keeps knocking down a wooden fence. So it's like knocking down this like constructed wooden fence around its enclosure. So they're pretty destructive, pretty good at like knocking stuff over and getting through stuff.
Listen, if you've got 550 pounds to swing and you have like 200 years, you can make anything work. No enclosure can keep you forever.
They're also really good at art. They perfect all of their endeavors. Like an elf in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah. They live for a long time. And the tortoises sang the trees to life.
And whenever a tortoise hears Hobbit poetry, it's like they can't tell the difference between Hobbit poetry and the poetry of men. It's all the same to them.
Sounds like you just recently read Many Meetings.
Yeah.
Because I just recently read Many Meetings.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Good stuff. That's all I got.
All right, that was the Aldabra giant tortoise. I have to next time I go to the zoo, because there's a giant tortoise there. I have to see whether it's Galapagos or Aldabra. It's one of the two, because there's only those two giant tortoises left in the world.
Should also throw it in the pond and see if it floats.
I will. I'll summon up all of my inhuman strength and chuck it into a pond.
Also two things. We had a friend that like had a story about how he errantly thought a tortoise was a turtle.
Yep.
And threw the tortoise in a lake, thinking it was gone for good.
I was thinking,
but maybe it survived.
True. Well, let's hold on to that hope. I think this might be exclusive to the giant tortoise, but who knows? You know,
it wasn't out of cruelty. It was in the road.
He did mention that it sank immediately.
Yeah. He's like, well, I'm going to put it in the water because that's where it's going, right? And then later found out that, tortoises don't swim necessarily. Or tortoises tortoises are land animals.
I thought he found out immediately when it did not swim and just sank like a rock.
Oh, maybe that's the case.
So I think that answers the question, because the giant tortoise isn't like lithe in the water. It just floats and can doggy paddle its way places if it needs to. So if you drop a tortoise in the water, which I really don't recommend, and it doesn't float immediately, then it can't swim.
Very true. Yeah. Try not to like take animals and throw them into very different environments unless you are an expert.
If you see
what you're doing,
a member of the order Testudines, so some sort of turtle-like being in the road, just move them off the road, because both tortoises and turtles are totally fine on land. So you can't go wrong by just putting them in the nearby grass. But you can go wrong by throwing them in the ocean or leaving them in the road.
You probably don't want to drop like a sea turtle in the middle of the desert.
That's probably true.
But if it's somehow in the road in the middle of the desert and you just move it to the side of the road, I don't think you're doing any extra harm.
You're right. You are. It is definitely better off not on the road, and rather on the.
It probably fell off some sort of truck, but listen, you've done your part.
It's gone from most likely being killed quickly by being run over to dying very slowly and painfully in the desert. So good on you.
Well, dang it. So you may have done some extra harm. So apparently when we did the gorilla episode, we had said, because I knew what the term of venery was, we did something else. And we said, like, stay tuned for the next episode and we'll reveal what it is. And we never did. But it's a troop of gorillas.
Oh, wow. Did you just recently listen to the episode?
No, my sister told me.
Oh.
That she listened to that one and the one after that.
It's like, hey, you never fulfilled your promise. Well, you are very sorry for not having.
I don't know why we thought, or why I thought, we would remember that.
We should have made a note.
That was a pipe dream.
But we try to make a point of not doing stuff like that because we're just can't remember that kind of stuff.
Joy, listener and consummate contributor, we were at a dinner with some other people from church, and she mentioned that we make a lot of animal puns. And then somebody else was like, oh, give us one. And I'm like, I have no remembrance of any animal pun that we've done in that show. Like, once the show is gone, almost all of it is gone from my brain.
I remember, like, the major facts and
yes,
some of the
me
cool
too.
stuff. But I don't remember any of, like, the details. And I definitely don't remember the taxonomy.
Well, actually, I feel like the more we do very similar, I don't remember the genuses and the species.
I can get down to the order.
The more we do,
sometimes.
Yeah, that repetition is breeding retention, and then like we'll talk about, like, we just remembered the coconut crab. We knew that had a major fact of being, a bird eater.
Yeah.
Or even if maybe it wasn't a major fact. I don't remember.
I
remember that fact about him.
But I don't remember what the taxonomy was. I know it was in phylum Mollusca, and that's it. But I remember, like, some orders. It depends on what the class is. It's all Latin and Greek gobbledygook, so it's really hard to remember most of these. For you out there in Podcastia, stretch your freakishly long neck. Eat your salads, and remember that slow and steady wins the longevity race, like the Aldabra giant tortoise here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, thanks for listening to the episode. Just a few quick things. As always, reviews and social media engagement are greatly appreciated, but recommending the podcast to friends is the best way to help us grow. If you'd like some LDT flavored merch, check out teespring.com/stores/taxonomytees. That's it. Thanks for listening all the way to the end.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
Okay.
Baby, don't hurt me no more. God is love. Satan can't hurt me. Can't hurt me no more. Actually, there's a 90s group called Blood and Fire, and that was the song they had on their album.
Make your own music.
It was great for 11-year-old me.